Hello, everyone. This is Pina Brandy from PB Property. And I thought I'll share with you this presentation I recently did. And hopefully for those that are still skeptical about property or I'm not sure why property, this could give you a little bit of an idea of why I think property is a good option. Now, this is not financial advice or anything. This is just what I believe in, and I'm just sharing my expertise. So always before making any decisions or purchasing decisions, make sure you speak to a professional regarding your situation. Okay, so at the moment, if you think about what is actually going on, like what do you guys think is happening in the market? Like you're gonna have probably two different approaches. Most people will think that the property market is gonna crash, and the other people are gonna think that the property market is gonna keep going up. Now, what I think really is that no one actually knows. Now, why do I say that? I say that based on past data. So what do I mean with past data? Well, let's have a look. And I'm not going to talk about like thousands of years behind or hundreds of years. I'm just going to talk about the last 3 years. Okay. So what happened as soon COVID hit? You could see, as you can see, this was published a year ago, and this was happening like right after we were just in the middle of the lockdown. Okay, so we just started the first lockdown, and we go, CBA starts the market is going to crash, keep going, CBA telling these kind of things, while at the same time CBA managed to make $9 billion during the pandemic. Now, how on earth a bank that says that the market is going to crash by 32% still goes out there and gives loans to people? Why would they still give money to people to purchase properties that they know that they are predicting that it's going to fall by 32%? And they still go and give loans? Like, I'm not sure if CBA, if it's in the business of charity work or not making money, because it makes no sense to me. Now, what it gets me upset is the fact that they do this, and then people that have no idea what to do, or people that were thinking to buy a house, that were thinking to buy something, they stop. Why? Because you don't know. So it's in the news. The news is saying the CBA is telling you that. So I'm just going to wait until the market falls so I can buy a house cheaper. And what actually happened was the total opposite. The market went up by more than 20%. And not only Sydney, all over Australia, and not only in Australia, all over the world. That was a one in a lifetime situation that no one has ever experienced before. Now, what happens? It starts all over again. Recently, they go and they say, oh, the market is going to start to go down. Now, honestly, I have so many, if you go back to my other videos, it's going to show you many more clips of 10 years ago where they say the exact same thing, and it never happened. Now, why would you believe and not do something and not take action? Well, guess what? These type of news sell. This is what people want to talk about. People want to talk about drama. And I think the misconceptions for me is that the way the news treat the property market, the news treat the property market as it's like either on a constant going up, like the property market, it's either constantly going up or it's crashing. There's no in between. I've never seen any other type of argument. They don't talk about readjustment. They don't talk about anything, fluctuations. No, it's either going up or it's crashing. Now, if you actually look at market data and many years of property market, you will see there is no such a thing as a straight line. What they talk about, it's trends. You have trends that, okay, the trend will go up with time, but it's almost impossible to know when we've peaked and when we bottomed. So if you're one of those people that are not taking action because you're waiting to the right time, guess what? No one knows when is the right time. That's why people say that the right time is when you are ready. It's not when the market is ready. Now, this is another one that kind of gets me frustrated. It's if you talk to any real estate agent, now I'm talking real estate agents that put listings on the market, that do open homes, that do auctions, what you see, it's always the same thing. When winter kicks in, like right after Christmas, the market starts slowing down. And then what they do during this whole period is like they are nurturing their clients, they're getting listings. Why? Because when is the time that the market goes up, that the auctions are great and the sales are great? Spring. So that's when springs come and everything goes back up. So why the big drama now in the news that, oh, auction clearance are going down, the market is not as hot as last year? Well, last year we were in lockdown, people had nothing to do. So why not go house shopping? Now, if we forget about the lockdown, if we actually forget about COVID and we go back to how normally things behave, that's how always have behaved. Like there's times that they're good to sell and other times not. One thing that upsets me is that why no one actually talks about this. This is, for me, is the most important thing that people should be talking about every day on the news. But this type of news, they can't be talking about all the time because that's a government problem. The sad news for me is that this is actually how it looks like if you were to retire today. Now, I know myself and I know people that as either individuals or couples spend much more than this fortnightly. And this is with basic living expenses. I know that some people say, oh, but when you get older, you don't spend that much. Yes and no, because they are taking consideration that by the time you're old and retired, you own your own home. But what if you don't? What if you're actually still renting? And rents are only going up with time. Now, not everybody qualifies for the full pension either. You have to qualify. And then people will say, well, wait a second, Pina, I still have super. Super will help me. Well, this is the latest data about super. I know that as a woman, 122,000, it's not enough. Now, the government thinks that I'm going to be able to live on 40,000 a year. Now, you divide that by 40,000, see how many years of retirement I have at 40,000. This is what people should be talking about. So when you're hesitating and thinking, oh, should I buy something? Look at these numbers and ask yourself, can I survive on this? Because the other very important thing is that inflation, as you can see, it's going up. Like things go up in price. Now, these numbers don't get readjusted with the actual inflations that we are expecting and experiencing. And this is the sad part. Now, we have another issue. The issue is that Australia, it's a beautiful, beautiful, super young country. That means that Australia is growing. And yes, COVID stopped it for a little bit, but it's just a glitch. Eventually, all the predictions of populations are there. And what are they? They expect population to actually increase by a lot in the next just 5 years. So if you think that we're going to add from 2022 to 2027 1.6 million people, we're talking around 326,000 people per year. Where are these people going to live? Now, this is how it's looking for the supply of properties in coming up. What COVID did was put a stop, a halt on construction of big developments. Now, I know some people might say, oh, we don't need more buildings, we need houses. Yes, we need both. We need dwellings that will make people feel that they're like home, but we need new construction, because as you can see, and COVID proved, there is not enough stuff in the market that is built enough for the people already living here. Because you have to think that a household, it might be 2, 3, 4 people, 5 people when we start growing. Now, if you originally lived with your parents and then you get married and you move into a new home, like where are you going to move? We need to be building more. And what COVID did was actually reduce the approval of new construction. So, and of course, now we have the inflation, the materials, the labor, scarcity, all these things adding to making it even more difficult for people to build. And what that makes is that whoever has something out there, it's renting. And we've never seen that before, like rents going so high, so fast. And guess what? It's going to keep going like this, because how long does it take to deliver a building with 200 units? 2-3 years. I'm talking 200 units or even 1,000 units. What is that when you're expecting 300,000 people? That's nothing. So for those people that are worried that there's an oversupply of properties, it's actually not. Like if you look at the numbers, it's actually the other way around. Now, if you go actually to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, that's what their predictions actually about the Australian population, and that's what they expect to happen. We are actually gonna double our population. And that's great, because Australia is a great country. As you can pick up on my accent, I am not Australian. I was not born here. I am an Australian citizen now, but I'm a foreigner that moved here 13 years ago and decided to call Australia home, because Australia is an amazing country. Now, we're not, like the government is telling you that at the moment, we're sitting at 25 million people. But by 2066, we're going to have double that. Now, that means in the next 44 years, we're going to double Australians' population. Now, I don't know how old are you that you're watching. Let's say if you're in your 60s, you might be able to see it in your lifetime. But if you're younger than that, it's definitely happening in your lifetime. Now tell me, where are these people going to live? That's why the government here makes so many rules and favorable tax rules for property investors, because they know they can't provide housing for all these people that are going to come. They know, they're aware, and they can provide some of it. But the other part comes from investment activity. So if investors don't have some help, it might take them longer. Now, having said that, if you look at the UK and other countries, they don't give any help to investors to buy property, and they still buy. Why? Because the outcome is always the same. You're investing for your future. You're investing for your retirement. That's what you're doing. And you're making money. You're growing your portfolio of assets. Now, I want to show you, and I know, like, look, I sell everything. I sell apartments, houses, townhouses. I don't have actually a preference, but what I find is that a lot of people have something against apartments, and I don't know why this hatred with apartment, at least in this generation. Like maybe the millennials will change a little bit, but I think the next generation will look very different. And I'll show you why it will look very different. Now, these are major capital cities in the world. Like I have Rio de Janeiro, I have Rome, New York, London. As you can see, the trend is the same. Like there's not enough land, definitely, but there's a lot of people. Now, in order for these people to be able to live in those cities, the only way to go is up, okay? Now, a lot of these people that are migrating to Australia, they've never lived in a house. For them, housing, it's just a place to live where they don't pay rent and they call home. So it can be an apartment, it can be anything that is theirs. Guess what? I know that this will sound super shocking, and I'm sorry if I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but I hear this all the time here in Australia. Oh, when you have kids, you have to have a backyard. Well, what are these people doing? Like, I know a lot of people that have a lot of kids and they don't have a backyard. And guess what? Those kids still grow up fine. So it's a mindset shift that will have to happen in Australia in the next generations, and it will happen. Now, let's have a look at Sydney, okay? Now, this is what Sydney CBD looks like. So if you can see, it's already looking not very different from what the other CBDs in the world look like. The difference is that Sydney is fantastic. Sydney is amazing because Sydney, it's so big. Now, Sydney has so many CBDs. And these are CBDs that have been growing for many years. And the government saw, okay, so there is already infrastructure there. There is already things that people want in those places. So let's just develop them more, because it's so much easier to put a building or 2 or 3 or 10 into a CBD that has already all the infrastructure. It has the sewage, it has transport, it has jobs, it has everything, then going to that developing completely an area like Southwest Sydney, like Leppington, Austro, that they are doing, but it's going to take 20, 30, 40 years until that looks like this. And people won't wait. People that are migrating to Australia now, they need this. They're not going to choose to go and live and commute 4 hours a day in order to have a house with a backyard. They need a job. They need to be where people are. And that's why people keep pumping buildings into these places. Now, we have Parramatta. This is how Parramatta eventually will look like once they finish putting most of the buildings in there. This is how Liverpool will look like eventually. And this is how even Penrith is going to start looking like. Now, Liverpool and Penrith will be the closest CBDs that will initially take the hit when the new airport is launched in Sydney, because they are fully developed cities. So they have hospitals, they have jobs, they have everything. So most people will actually go there until everything else is delivered in the aerotropolis. But this is what I'm trying to show you. This is not for you. You're watching these, great, you're educating yourself. But who is actually gonna live in these cities and these places? It's not you. But you can provide housing and rent for these people if you're open-minded enough to see the opportunity, that how amazing Sydney and Australia has so many of these opportunities out there where you can get into the market now. Now, this is how big Sydney is, and this is how the government sees Sydney, like as multiple big CBDs. And the idea is that people hopefully will choose one of these CBDs and will stick to live within it. So the idea is not, I live in Parramatta and work in the CBD. Like the idea is that you can find everything you need within that one spot. That's why they're doing what they're doing. Now, I want you to imagine, like, if you took action today and you purchased some properties, okay? Now, imagine that you have a property that is giving you $2,000 a month in rent, and then another one, and another one, and another one, okay? This equals around $8,000 a month in rent. Now, if you take action really soon, that means that you eventually, by the time you retire, most of these will be paid off, or they'll be worth so much more. Now, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the 2,700 that you're gonna be earning as a couple at your retirement? Or would you prefer to have 8,000 as a retirement? Now, remember what I said before, these are rents. That means rents get readjusted with inflation as it is. So that it's real, like these numbers would change at that point in time. These will never catch up to this. This is your choice. You choose. You have the time now to choose. Even if you only manage to buy 2 or 3, you're still in a better position than this. This is what people should be talking about, not about the market going up and the market going down. That's what the market's going to do. Now, I love brand new property. Why? Because if you're starting your journey now, you want to buy something that is not going to give you a headache. You want to buy something that you're the one that's going to hold on to that for the longest, okay? So that means that at least the first 10 years that you're holding that property, it's not going to have any maintenance issues. Usually, brand new gets higher rents because people want to pay more to be in a more modern and nicer place. You get full tax benefits. And you get usually the most updated technologies. Most of these new buildings now are being delivered with electric chargers, solar panels, all these things. And it's so much more expensive to upgrade it in an older building. It's doable, you can, but you have to get all the people together to agree with you, to spend that money with you and upgrade the building. And not many times you see people willing to do so. And remember, guys, you're buying whatever you're buying is not for you. It might not even be for your kids. It's for their kids. So these are the people that are going to be living in there. Your kids' kids or the future migrants. They are already coming from big cities. They're already coming from an apartment living. And all they want is a better life, infrastructure, job, transport. And usually where they put apartments, that's where you already have all those things. Now, one thing that I usually say, like, people are always scared, like, and I understand it's a big commitment. And you think, oh, why not buy shares, or why not buy crypto? Why not buy, so there's so many other assets, okay? Well, property, I find it's the safest for me. And the reason it's simple, everybody needs a place to live. And even in the worst case scenario, we have a market crash or whatever, or the government goes crazy and wakes up in the morning and say, you know what, from now on, every single property is going to be worth the same or zero or whatever. The people renting that from you are still going to need a place to live. And they're still going to need rent to pay. So worst comes to worst, you still have rental income coming for you. When if the share market, if you buy shares of a stock of a company that goes broke, guess what? You lost that money forever. You can't go back. Now, again, the government needs your help for housing for all these people that are coming. And if it wasn't for investor activity, I think the property market would be much worse than it is, because we definitely wouldn't have enough properties for people. And the end story is always the same. Australian people love property. That's what they love. And because it's a new country and still growing, and that's why there's so much opportunity. So don't be that person that is stopping from taking action just because you're scared. Now, we can't change progress. We can't change the future. And if you're one of those people that would prefer to only have houses instead of apartments, well, I love houses too. But unfortunately, that's not reality. And that's not how the future and progress goes. But one thing we can change what we do today, plan for the future we want to have, make sure you stick to a plan, and enjoy the best times of your life. And usually those are when you don't need to work anymore. But you can only choose not to work anymore when you have an income, a steady income that is coming to you, not your pension, not your super, but something that you've done today in order to change your future. Now, this is how I help people. I help people take that decision. I help people find the right property that they need in that point in time. I can help you find a property manager to manage that property as well. And just help you with the whole system, the whole thing. You don't need to do this alone. And please reach out. And I would love to hear your comments and what you think about this. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to check my social media as well. I have Instagram where I'm very active on that. So make sure you go there. I have a newsletter. So make sure you go to my website and subscribe to the newsletter, and leave some questions below. I'll be more than happy to answer them, and I'll see you in my next video.